Hi, everyone. Welcome back to What's Next. My name is Kunal Batra, and I'm a senior developer advocate here at AWS. In this session, we're going to be talking about two of the most recently launched features for Amazon Connect. So before we dive deeper into each of those features, I want to introduce two of the people who helped make them possible. And we'll have them first introduce themselves, and we'll dive into those features. So Yasser, do you want to go first?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Yasser El-Hagan. I'm the worldwide technical leader for productivity applications.
Awesome. Kostab?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Kaustubh Khanke. I'm a senior product manager for AWS Artificial Intelligence.
So before we dive deeper into two of these features, and they're really interesting features, first I want to, for our viewers and our customers who are not familiar with Amazon Connect, can one of you define and talk about Amazon Connect and some of the pain points it solves?
Yeah, sure. So Amazon Connect is our cloud-based contact center service solution that we launched about 3 years ago with AWS. It's a natively built cloud solution that we built as far as out of our learnings for Amazon.com and to handle Amazon.com's contact centers over the last 10 years. And since we've launched it, we've been iterating really rapidly and introducing some really great functionality into Amazon Connect, a lot of that powered by machine learning and AI. And we've seen some really great adoption from customers. And we're excited about the features that we've launched this year to add on to the great capability that we've already had.
Perfect. And so two of those features, I'm just going to give the names right now, Contact Lens, RealTime, and Wisdom. Personally, I think they're really fascinating. They're really interesting. I want to get into this. They're also related as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But let's start off with Contact Lens RealTime. So if you can get first, before we get into the RealTime component of it, let me know what Contact Lens is.
Sure, yeah. So last year during reInvent, we announced Contact Lens for Amazon Connect. Basically, Contact Lens is a set of machine learning capabilities that allow contact center supervisors to get in-depth insights into customer conversations. You can identify call drivers. So basically, if there are issues that are coming up in particular conversations, you can get details about what those issues are, and you can quickly identify them within the call transcripts. You can get sentiment analysis. So you get sentiments not just for your customer, but also for your agent. So you can quickly identify what part of the conversation is the portion that you need to focus on. You can basically look at parts of the conversation where either the customer sentiment went from positive to negative or negative to positive, to basically understand what are the things that are working in your contact center and what aren't. Apart from that, you also have the ability to do contact searches. Basically, you can do searches on the sentiment itself. So basically, if you're looking for all contacts where the sentiments have shifted from positive to negative or negative to positive, you have the ability to search based on that. You can also search for keywords within the call transcript. So let's say you're looking for a particular type of issue. If it's a returns issue or if it's an account cancellation issue, you can just search for those keywords and phrases, and we can surface those call transcripts for you. Apart from that, we also have the ability to do categorization. So basically, you can define keywords or phrases that are uttered by either the customer or the agent or both. And we'll actually start tagging all the calls that we have in your contact center with those labels. And then you can then take those labels and either do dashboarding, or you can build models on top of that. So you have the flexibility to take that labeled data and enhance it even further. And finally, we have the ability for you to do sensitive data redaction, which is particularly key for customers in heavily regulated industries. You can basically redact sensitive information such as names, addresses, email addresses, social security numbers from not just the call transcripts, but also the audio files themselves. And then you can also provide access to those unredacted transcripts to only a specified set of supervisors within your contact center. So you can make sure that only the right people who need access to unredacted transcripts have access to them, while you can make sure that the redacted transcripts are more broadly available. So all of this, what we'd initially launched was on the post-call analysis domain. And now we've recently announced the real-time capabilities that you just mentioned earlier.
Perfect.
Yeah, another thing on the redaction side is not only are we redacting the transcript, we're also redacting the audio file as well. So you actually end up with the call recording audio that also has been redacted, and we replace that sensitive data with just white noise. So now your transcript and your audio match up exactly.
Great. So other teams can access that data based on who they are and what they need to see. That's awesome. So I just wanted to stress some of the points here. Some of the value add this provides is essentially it makes agents more effective for mitigating problems for the end customers. It makes quality assurance managers more effective at their jobs, making sure that the calls are happening in the proper way, and also makes supervisors more effective to make sure they're training their agents more effectively too, right? And I just wanted to kind of throw out some numbers there so our customers can understand how powerful this is. Just in case, let's say, for example, there's a call center and you have 15 agents and they get 20 to 40 calls per day. So we're talking something around the 3 to 600 calls a day here. And now instead of going through each one of those calls and checking for the sentiment, checking how these calls went, now you have the ability in one shot to kind of get a report and see what's working, what's not, the sentiment analysis for those calls as well. And just really quickly, I'm sure our customers will have this question as well. When we're talking about sentiment analysis, we're not talking about the audio characteristics, correct? We're talking about the words that are used in those calls.
Yep, that's right. So we basically look at the context of the words that are uttered in customer turns. So basically, when a particular set of words mean that the customer is more negative, we look at that overall context when we basically surface something as positive or negative sentiment. We basically evaluate sentiment on a score from -5 to +5. -5 being the negative portion of the sentiment, and then +5 being the positive sentiment, a positive part of the sentiment. And you can actually search based on these sentiment scores values, not just on an overall sentiment score for a particular call. You can also look at score differential as the conversation progresses. So for example, you can look at the first quarter of the call and say, hey, I want to look at all the calls which start off with the negative sentiment in the first quarter of the call, and I want to see all the calls that end with negative sentiment in the latter half of the call. And then I can say, okay, these are the calls where my agent was able to take a customer who came in with a negative experience and send them out with a more positive experience. Then you can use those sort of calls as training content for other agents so that even they can enhance their capabilities. On the other hand, if you want to focus majorly on calls where your customers left with negative sentiment, you can look at all those calls which started with the first half as positive sentiment and then ended with negative sentiment. And you can look at what went wrong there and why, and then analyze if there's things you can do to coach your agents to do better.
That's awesome. And I'm guessing also with that ability of transcription, you can also see who's talking more, right? You can see, are the customers talking, are the agents talking, what's that non-talk
you can see
time?
things like how much silence there is on the call, how much time the agent spent talking versus how much time the customer spent talking. And when you combine that with categories and sentiment, you can really draw a much better conclusion of the customer's experience. So for example, if you see that on a given call, the agent was silent for a really long time, that might be an indicator that the agent's taking too long to look up information or do something, and that can then help you understand what that customer experience is like.
Yep, makes sense. And so now that's Contact Lens. What did we announce and reinvent just this Monday for Contact Lens? What's new for Contact Lens now?
Yep. So we've been hearing a lot of challenges that customers face with post-call analysis. Basically, customers want the ability to look at issues as they are arising during the conversation, rather than solving those issues after the call has ended. Supervisors currently have to look at a random subset of calls to analyze, where are the calls that are going wrong and where can they proactively step in and assist agents. But that's a very scattergun sort of approach. There's no sort of targeted mechanisms for supervisors to look at specific calls and go after them. That's where what we've come up with right now is the ability for customers to set up real-time alerts where you can get alerted to issues as and when they're occurring during live calls. So for example, you can have scenarios like customer escalation requests when a customer is asking that they want to talk to a supervisor, or maybe you have a case where a customer is saying that they want to cancel their account. You can get notified for these kind of issues based on keywords and phrases that you define in your categories. And then what happens is as soon as a customer says those keywords, we surface alerts on a real-time metrics dashboard where you can quickly drill in to see what are the categories that are being hit on this particular call. You can then dive deep into that and see a live call transcript that gives you not just the customer sentiment, but also the agent sentiment, and then which also highlights the issue for you that has been identified by our machine learning model, and which can be considered to be the call driver. So basically, that then enables the supervisors to quickly get up to speed on what the issue is, and then decide whether they want to assist the agent and provide them resources, maybe a few policy pages or knowledge-based articles, or maybe they want to say, hey, the agent is way over their head on this one. Why not? Why not? Why shouldn't I just step in and help this customer out so that I can resolve this issue before it, before it gets out of hand even further? So that ability is what we've introduced this reinvent, the ability for supervisors to get real-time alerts and take actions on those real-time alerts.
Makes sense. And just quickly, this is also great for compliance reasons as well, right? So just in case an agent has to announce before the call some sort of information, if that doesn't happen over here, a supervisor or someone else can get an alert, send the chat saying, hey, quick reminder, don't forget to mention XYZ kind of thing.
Absolutely. Perfect. You can define all the different kinds of phrases that you want to look for.
Perfect.
Yeah, it also solves another interesting problem. So, we all hate repeating ourselves when we are talking from one agent to the other agent and so forth. So one of the really compelling things that you can do here is, let's say I'm talking to a specific associate and then for some reason they have to transfer me to another agent. We can transfer that transcript of what's been said so far to that next agent. That way they can quickly come up to speed to what's going on versus the first agent kind of having to summarize that conversation. That hopefully creates a much better customer experience.
Of course, definitely. I'm sure that's something all of our customers want to experience as well. So now we've talked about the insights that a supervisor and a quality assurance manager can get for those calls, post or also real time as well. But now, what are the insights that our agents can actually get, right? And this is kind of where Wisdom plays in. Can you talk a little bit more about what is Amazon Connect Wisdom?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, with our introduction of Wisdom, it's leveraging our capabilities from an AI and ML perspective, and the investments that we've made in search and so forth, to help surface relevant information to the agent in real time. So there's two components of Wisdom. One is that we will index knowledge-based articles, whether they're FAQs or PDFs or what have you. We can index that information, and then either make it so that the agent can search for that information just using natural language search queries, or if they're using Contact Lens real time, we can actually take the feed from Contact Lens and surface relevant articles in real time to the agent without them even having to make that search. And that's huge because it allows the agent to focus on having a more natural and human-like conversation with the customer versus navigating the internal systems.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that when you mix it with real time, now you have the ability to have that less of that, what we spoke about before, silence, and have those answers kind of pop up right away for that agent and help actually solve and create those resolutions at a faster time. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only surface that data, but it also leverages the agents almost as like you could think of it as like a human-assisted AI, right? So now, as we surface that data, the agents can provide feedback and say, "Yep, this was good. This was not good," or maybe the information would have been more helpful if it had this. And then it helps you kind of curate that data to continue to provide more relevant data to the agent.
That makes sense. And again, so you're saying that Wisdom connects with different data repositories, and then from there, it automatically picks up relevant information based on what's happening in the call?
Yeah, exactly. So, as was mentioned earlier with contact lens real time, we're going to try to understand the issue that the customer is talking about. Well, because contact lens real time and wisdom work hand in hand, wisdom can then take that issue and and do that search automatically and pop relevant information to the agent.
Okay, that's actually really interesting over here. Uh, any specific use cases that you've seen that are kind of interesting when it comes to wisdom and real time together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just think of essentially anything that an agent has to go search for to provide an answer to the customer, or maybe it's helping a process or helping the agent figure out what the next best thing that they might do for this customer, whether it's navigating a certain use case, whether it's helping the agent kind of figure out what the next step might be in servicing that customer. It's also great for things like policies. So, for example, let's say the agent gets a question, and it's a question like, what's my minimum liability coverage, for example? Well, those are all things that are usually in FAQs or internal documentation. We can surface direct answers to the agent. So part of wisdom is not only to just surface like, full sentences and paragraphs like this, but also factoids. So for example, if there is a specific answer that we can get out of the data, we'll surface that answer directly to the agent.
Okay. And also, the agent has the ability to kind of help train this and make this better, right? Like they can kind of thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just even thumbs up and thumbs down. They can also kind of provide more specific feedback about what was good or what was bad about this data, and that's what you can see here in this screenshot. So again, it's all about helping the agent, but then also using that human capital to also make the system better that will continue improving the agent and customer experience.
That makes sense. And just a little context switching back and forth here. If we can go also back to contact lens. One of the things I was just thinking about. Uh, Prior to this, we've had the post analysis, right?
Mhm.
And now we have the real time. So, can you talk a little bit more about why should businesses take advantage of the real time capabilities for contact lens as well?
Sure. So I think there are different use cases for both. So for real time, it's more around the use cases which I just talked about earlier, which was things like competitor mentions, things like account cancellations, and things like escalation requests, where you need information during the call and you want to take action during the call because if you happen to lose out, if you lose out on those issues, you're going to lose the customer, and the customer is going to probably switch on to another service, or they're going to cancel their accounts. And you want to make sure that you take action then and there rather than wait for that analysis to complete and then have someone take in a look at it maybe like a few days or weeks after it has already occurred. By then the customer might have already switched over to a different service. So that's your real-time applications. For post call, you're probably looking more at things which you want to coach the agent after the call has completed. Things like maybe just saying something like thank you for being a platinum member or thank you for being a gold member, right? Like those are kind of issues that you probably don't want the supervisors to be telling the agent during the call, right? Like those are kind of things that you can leave to the end. After the call has completed, you can sort of identify those opportunities and say, hey, this is where you could have done things better. And those are not deal breakers. They're not going to affect your customer then and there during live calls, but those are things that you can improve substantially over time. So that's where post call analytics comes in, and that's where you can leverage the post call analytics capability. And we give you the ability to do both. So you have the option today either to select just post call analysis, or you can get the ability to get both real time and post call analysis. So you have the abilities to switch back and forth between both if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and the nice thing there is that you can decide which ones of these categories or rules should be triggered in real time versus which ones you're interested for post-call analytics. And that's important so that you can kind of decrease the false positive alerts and things like that. So you don't want too much noise. So just for the things that you're interested in being alerted on in real time, you can create real-time rules, and you can have other rules for post-call analytics.
And so for those rules, are these like word for word, like if these words are mentioned, do this? Or is this something if these sentiment plus these words are mentioned? Talk a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so initially when we launched Contact Lens, we just had the ability for you to do exact matching. So we would look for exact the keywords and phrases that you've mentioned. But now what we've done is we've recently added two more additional capabilities: semantic matching and pattern matching. Let me talk a little bit about each of them. So what we identified as one of the challenges that customers face is for exact matching, you need to define like an exhaustive list of keywords during the category definition. But we wanted to make that process simpler. And that's why we introduced a machine learning based semantic matching basically logic, where you can specify a list of keywords and phrases, and then we will look for anything that matches those particular keywords and phrases and meaning in all your call transcripts. So you don't need to go ahead and mention all the different variations. For example, if you just specify "thank you for your help" or "I am grateful for your help," we will go ahead and look at your call transcript, and we might end up finding "thank you for your assistance." And our machine learning model is able to determine that the intents match. So we are able to categorize your call based on that meaning, the similarity in meaning between those two words. So that's one categorization enhancement that we've introduced. We've also introduced the ability to do pattern matching based on regular expressions. So let's say if you're looking for distance-based logic, where you want to make sure that things like you're looking for the word credit, but you want to make sure that credit card is not surfaced in your category matches. You can say that the word card should not appear within one word of the word credit. And that sort of enables you to separate credit card mentions from credit mentions. So that is another powerful capability that we've introduced within categorization. And then the other thing that we've also introduced in addition to all of these things is the ability for contact lens to support much more languages. So initially we launched only with English and Spanish. We've now introduced support for French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Hindi, and Arabic. So you can do a lot more with a lot more regions and customers than just English and Spanish.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. That's great to hear.
If I can add one thing there.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about what the development team built here is for that kind of matching. They created a really easy to use interface for you to create those what you could consider regex without actually having to know anything about regex, right? So it's a very easy to use UI where you can say, if you see this word, and then you can select within X amount of words, you see this other word. So it makes it really easy for business users to go create these rules. And that's really one of the biggest value propositions, I think, of how we're bringing these features together within Amazon Connect. It's really meant to be self-service, easy to use, where business stakeholders can actually go and create some of these rules and capabilities.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point to stress, right? The people who can use this, it's everyone. Everyone can go ahead, spin up Amazon Connect, add in these functionalities, and you don't have to have your developers or use that developer time create that functionality, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely things that you can customize, and there's lots of things that developers can get excited about within Amazon Connect. But you don't necessarily need a developer to create these great experiences. And I think you're going to see us doubling down on that a lot more as you see with these features.
Awesome. And so now I want to talk about the intersection of these two amazing features, right? So how does Wisdom, I think we talked a little bit about this, maybe we could dive a little deeper. How does Wisdom and Contact Lens real time work together? Can they work separately? And also when they work together, how does that look?
Yeah, so I'll start and then I can hand it off to you to maybe you want to add some more color to that. So, for me, I feel like a lot of these features are just better together, right? They're really meant to be used together and provide additional value. And what I mean by that is when you turn on Contact Lens real time, and you're also a consumer of Wisdom, you just get those benefits of Wisdom automatically popping up relevant content to the agent. But you don't have to use Contact Lens real time to also get value out of Wisdom. And essentially, in one of the earlier screenshots that I showed, you can do regular searches. Just the agent can just type in a search directly in the Wisdom widget to surface knowledge. And I think one thing that we didn't call out earlier is Wisdom has a widget. So you don't actually have to code anything to start getting the benefits of Wisdom. It's just a widget that you can embed in your agent desktop.
Very cool. And then when you do connect that with real time, that's when we talked about earlier, right? Where you start getting those automatic insights during the call of saying, hey, here are things that could be solving it. And I think the slide had this example of a washing machine, right? Like there was an issue of if there's some issue with a washing machine, that a customer brought up, it can automatically pull up the information for servicing and warranty and automatically give that to the customer without you as an agent having to search for that right away, which is actually kind of a pretty interesting example.
Yeah, and that was actually that same example that you mentioned I had put up on the screen was also a factoid, right? So yes, you have all the text that you could read through, but we also surfaced the exact answer. If we can go back to the slides here, we can see that example where we actually surfaced the direct answer for you. Because again, you're having a conversation, right? So anything we can do to give you the exact information you need will provide a more natural conversation versus you saying, hold on one second, let me read this text and then give you an answer, right? So that's pretty exciting.
Awesome. And just curious to hear, anything else that you want to mention for either contact lens or real time?
I think for me, there's two points. One of the things that I get excited about, just how we provide value to customers. We released Contact Lens last year, and obviously there's a certain price point for Contact Lens, but our customers have become, almost accustomed to us just continue iterating and adding value without necessarily nickel and diming them and asking them to pay additional fees for them. And that's exactly what we did with Contact Lens. So we're adding all this additional high level value at no additional cost. So the contact lens pricing hasn't changed. We're adding real time, we're adding issue detection, we're adding all this capability for regex based searching and so forth without charging anything extra for that capability. So that's super exciting, and hopefully we'll continue to do that. The other piece is that we put the customer in full control of how to use these features, how to control their bill, when it might be applicable. Everything is paid per use, right? So in the contact flow within Amazon Connect, you can decide which contacts to use contact lens on, which ones you want to enable real time for, which ones you want to enable post call for. So the customers are in full control of how they leverage these products and services.
Awesome. And then also, before we wrap up here, I can see we're almost at time. Any calls to actions, any places where customers can go and learn more about contact lens real time or wisdom?
The best place to start, just go spin up an Amazon Connect instance. You can do that in 5 minutes. You can start pumping in calls in less than 10 minutes. It's a checkbox to enable contact lens. There's no licenses, there's no contracts, there's really no barrier to entry here. If you're interested and you want to see how it works, go spin up an instance.
Makes sense. And Costa, anything for contact lens?
No, I think Yasser just mentioned it. It's as easy as selecting a checkbox in your configuration flows within Amazon Connect. All you have to do is select a checkbox and say, yeah, I want to enable contact lens analytics, and you can get started with contact lens. And then you can choose whether you want to do post call or real time. And all the configuration is just a few clicks here and there, and you're good to go. You can start testing, see the effects, and you can then decide how you want to improve your overall contact center experience. So highly encourage everyone to go check out Contact Lens, the website. We have technical blogs that we've published that you can read to understand how to use Contact Lens in a step-by-step format, and you can also get a deeper understanding of all the features that we've published and all the features that I just mentioned today.
Perfect. And then one last thing I just want to mention for Wisdom, if you do want to sign up for the preview, you can go to aws.amazon.com/connect/wisdom. Hope everyone enjoyed this session. If there are questions, feel free to pass it our way. But thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this. Take care.